You're listening to the Productive Therapist Podcast, the world's greatest and most brilliant resource for busy therapists who'd rather be laying on a beach in Hawaii. Each episode is packed with simple tips and inspiring insights from the Productive Therapist team to help you grow your practice and have fun doing it. So without further ado, let's help you get more done and have more fun.
Are you losing clients because inquiries slip through the cracks? Simple Intake is an all-in-one mental health CRM. The AI receptionist responds to inquiries in seconds, books consultations 24/7, and keeps your clinicians' calendars full. You can see it in action at productivetherapist.com/simple intake. All right, on to the episode. Hello, Kris. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Uriah. It's so lovely to see you.
Yes, I'm particularly excited about this conversation because I think some of the topics that we're getting into, I know they're your favorites, and they're also some of my favorites. So this is going to be a good time for sure.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Before we dive into talking about how to replace all your marketing with a single story, I have to ask you two specific questions, somewhat related but kind of unrelated. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, I'm open.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So I'm just curious because I don't know. I'm wondering if you can tell me the story of the name of your business, which is Red Door. I know there's a story. I'm curious to know what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I founded the business 23 years ago, which is hard to even believe.
Wow.
Yeah, I found my purpose early in life, and red was my longtime favorite color. It's since shifted slightly into the hot pink tones.
Nice.
But I love the color red. I loved what it represented. And I really love this idea of a red door and the meaning behind that. So a red door signifies prosperity and also just like a nurturing experience. And so I love the idea of like combining those two things. That's what I help my clients do, and that's what I want them to experience with me.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the things that I actually really enjoy doing when I travel, whether it's in the United States or in other countries, is taking pictures of two things for some reason: street art and interesting doors.
Really?
Yeah. I know it's kind of
Yeah.
random, but my wife and I were recently last month in Ireland for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
For a vacation and then also for a therapist retreat. And that's why I was taking pictures of doors. So this is my second question for you, though, because I was in Dublin. I went and visited the Guinness storehouse and did various Guinness-related activities. And I saw on your website that you've worked with a number of iconic companies, one of them being Guinness. And I'm curious if you have any stories about that.
Yes. Of course, I lived in Dublin. And
Did you?
so, yeah, I was able to get a job with Guinness and work in their marketing department.
Wow.
So the St. James's Gate and the whole place that you were at, that's where I went to work every day. I took two buses to work there every day. And this was in my 20s. And Guinness, if you worked there, you had free food, which for me at that phase of my life, I was like, oh my gosh, free food. And you got one free beer a day. I can't remember if it was one free beer or two free beers. And so we would like stockpile, and a lot of employees would do this. They just stockpile beer underneath our cubicle desk. And yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. You know, that smell of a brewery, and how like anytime I smell that, I go back to that time in my life. And yeah, it was pretty epic. Those guys,
so cool.
They know how to brand.
Yeah, I was thinking about it because I went through their, tour experience, and it was really, really well done.
Yes.
But the most interesting thing to me as kind of a marketing nerd, right, was the section where they talk about their marketing campaigns over the years, everything that they've done, and really, truly brilliant. One of the ones that stands out for me is some of the old ads that say like Guinness for strength, or like they're really branding beer as like, it's good for babies, it's good for men, and all that. It's so funny and wonderful. So they do a really good job.
Yeah, they do. When I lived there, Guinness everyone drank Guinness. And women would drink Guinness and black currant. Have you heard of that? So
Wait, is
like
that like with the syrup?
with the syrup. Yeah.
Yes, we tried it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you? Okay. So it's still, I wasn't sure if that was still going on, but
Definitely.
yeah, I was telling my partner about that the other day. I was like, we need to go try a Guinness and black currant because it's a totally different. It tastes so decadent and very
Yeah.
different. And yeah,
Yeah.
you don't want more than one because it's like it's a lot.
Definitely. Definitely.
But yeah.
That's so great. Thanks for sharing that. I had no idea that you actually worked there. I just kind of thought maybe you worked for them for a period of time or worked on a
Oh,
project, but that's fun.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was really a lucky experience.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So the idea of replacing all of your marketing with a single story sounds enticing, but almost too good to be true. So tell me a
Mhm.
little bit more about this idea.
Yeah. So really the idea is that story is the way that we connect with other people. And there's a lot of psychology around story, as you know. It's a beautiful way to build connection, build trust. And so we clearly want to be using story in our marketing. But how do we do that? I believe every business or business owner needs one signature story for their business. And that same story can be used in every area of your marketing. And the reason that you can use one story everywhere, the same story everywhere, is because your signature story works a lot like an accordion. It might be a longer story, like on your homepage. It might be in a video script. It might be this length, and as a one-liner or an elevator pitch, it's the shortest version of the story. But the fundamentals of the story, the components of story, are the same no matter where you're telling it, no matter the length. And so when I work with my clients, we put together their story, we craft their story, and then we give it to them in all these different versions from long to medium to short. So then you can show up online very congruent, very consistent. If somebody happens upon you on social media and then they go to your website, it's all really in alignment with each other. That doesn't mean you're being lazy. Like, yes, it is less work, which what a gift, but it's actually it's less work, but it builds trust quicker. And half the battle as self-employed people is really just being remembered and being known for the thing that you do. And if you want that, this is the easiest path to get there.
Yeah, I like that you said alignment. You talked about alignment where everything kind of has a through
Mhm.
line. Is that
Yeah, like a
the
golden
word?
thread.
A golden
Yeah,
thread. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I like
yeah,
that very much.
exactly. Yeah.
So many questions in my head, but the first one that comes to mind is, do you think that most business owners don't really think, when they think about branding, messaging, marketing, they don't really start with story? Do you think that's
Yeah.
true or not?
Oh, it's so true.
And
It's
and
so
why so,
true.
do you think? Why do you
I
think?
think that, um, part of it is just when you become self-employed, um, the things that sound the most fun are like, I need a logo, I need a brand colors, or I need a website, and I'm gonna crank one out without really taking the time to figure out, what do you want to say, what do you want to be known for, what's the problem you want to be known for solving, what kind of transformation do you want to provide for your clients. So the story work that we do is the foundation. It's that fertile soil in which everything else grows from. So if you can imagine, really truly, like dirt on the ground, and that is your story, that's the foundation of everything. And then as the tree grows, then that's like your website is informed by that soil, your branding is informed by that, everything that you do visually or in written form is informed by the foundational story that we craft.
But it takes a little bit of work to pull that out, I imagine, with some business owners, because they don't start there. Do they need to kind of discover, do you help them discover their story?
A lot of people that come to me, they're a year in or
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 years in, and that's fine. Like, I don't think that anybody can really shortcut that first year or two. Like, there's
Sure.
so much bootstrapping and so much DIYing that is so hard and so much learning going on. Um, and I just don't think that there's a shortcut around that. I think what's best is for you to do what you need to do, slap up a website, get your logo, get out there, like just get the wheels going, get a year under your belt, and you learn so much during that year around the type of people you like to work with and how do you like to deliver. Do you want to work with groups? Do you want to work one-on-one? And so at that point, I think is the time most people come to me and they say, when I think back on the last year or two, no clients have come to me through my website.
Oh, interesting.
I'm relying only on referrals, and referrals are great, but they're not a consistent way to grow your business. And you've got to have marketing tools set up for you on autopilot to continually keep your pipeline full, you know, potentially, hopefully get you a wait list. So you constantly like have people that are lined up, excited about working with you. That's really the goal. I think any therapist that goes into business wants to make an impact, wants to make a difference, wants to genuinely help people. And they don't do that because they also want to become a part-time marketer. The
True.
marketing piece is like this, oh yeah, I didn't realize like I got into this business because I love the work, not because I want to be a part-time marketer and posting on social media and all the things that we can feel like we have to get involved in. We don't necessarily have to, like social media being a perfect example. If you have a website that is set up to sell and you're doing a couple of activities to send people to that website, that's all you need to do. You don't have to be on social media all the time unless you really want to be. But there are so many options that require much less effort to create a profitable practice.
I like those words, less effort. That sounds good.
Yes.
You make a
Yeah.
really good point, and this is
Yeah.
probably true of other industries, but therapists in particular, we got into what we do because it's part of our story is helping other people, being
Yep.
a provider of services. And yeah, definitely marketing is not the zone of genius. So we kind of like do what we have to do to get the word out. But we do, I think this is true of a lot of therapists. We do have a very personal story of what brought us to this work. And for a long time, we were sort of discouraged from using that story because we were told not to self-disclose to our clients and those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
One of the successes that I had early on in my solo practice was telling my story because I was a troubled teen
Mm-hmm.
who did like my parents tried to get me into therapy and that didn't really help. And
Mm-hmm.
I was a troubled teen that ended up becoming a therapist for troubled teens. And so
Mm.
I decided to just use that and tell that story.
Yeah.
And once upon a time, years ago, I actually hired a very talented copywriter to help me like actually put it into a story form.
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically my homepage for the longest time. And if I remember correctly, the title was something like From Troubled Teen to Successful Therapist or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
message was basically like, this is who I am and what my story is. And now I've become the therapist that I wish I had when I was 16.
Mm.
And I told some specifics about my struggles, as a teenager, like real specifics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened with that is I got so many clients because parents read that and they said, wow, this is a therapist who I think my son or daughter can really connect with. And this is a
Mm-hmm.
real person who has like
Mm-hmm.
overcome things in their lives. And it just unintentionally became very like magnetic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
was a success that I had early on
Mm.
and very happy about that.
It's really powerful. I think part of what was working in there, it sounds like, is that you were, of course, showing that you struggled with similar issues as their children. You came out the other side as a therapist who now understands the problem so thoroughly, so intimately. And when we can show up and show our potential clients that we truly get the problem, we really get it through and through, our brains or their brains automatically think you're the best one to solve it. It's
Click
incredibly
connection.
powerful,
Yeah.
right? They feel seen, they feel heard.
Mm-hmm.
You've shown some vulnerability, and so there there stories like that are irresistible to our brains. We cannot help but engage. And so you did such a beautiful job, and you saw firsthand the power of a great story.
Before we continue, I want to tell you about my product, Simple Intake. As a longtime practice owner, I always had the same problem. Too many inquiries were slipping through the cracks. So I built the solution. Simple Intake is an all-in-one mental health CRM that actually works. It responds to inquiries in seconds with an AI receptionist, follows up automatically, and schedules consultations 24/7. So your clinicians stay booked, you stop losing new clients, and you finally get your time back. You can see it in action at productivetherapist.com/simple intake. All right, let's get back to the episode. Definitely. I think I had some challenge translating that into my group practice when I started that about 10 years ago, which was Guilford Family Counseling, and now it's Intune Family Counseling, like I was telling you earlier. And that then became much less and less about me and my story, and people who were coming to us didn't really know Uriah or didn't really care about Uriah. Which was hard for me in a moment, but then it was fine,
Yeah.
So I guess I would ask you this question, two potential scenarios. So let's say there's a solo or group practice that is more general in nature. Like they kind of work with all kinds of people, all kinds of problems. So there's not like a through line necessarily or a golden thread. How would a business like that tell a compelling story?
Well, I would encourage that practice to really get clear on the problems that they solve. And they could hone in, and maybe it's 2 or 3 problems that they solve. But if you're everything to everyone, you're nobody to anybody, or whatever that phrase
Sure.
is. It's
Yeah.
like you actually kind of can't have a compelling story if you're not clear on essentially a single problem that you solve. There
Right.
are lots of creative ways to keep things broad but clear. So you could create a larger bucket, like, you know, kids with anxiety, or
Mm-hmm.
like families, right? There's endless issues that a family might have, but you're very clear that you're helping families, and you're very clear that you're creating connection, getting them in sync and in tune with each other, um, in rhythm with each other. I really love that word, rhythm.
Yeah.
Your old name. Um, I have yet to meet a client where we haven't
Hmm.
been able to do it. There's
Right.
always a way, and I know how to ask the right questions that pull that story out. And because I'm not, as business owners or as therapists, we're so close to our own selves, we're so close to our own practice. We're inside the bottle trying to read the label that can only be read from outside. And so I'm able to come in, ask the right questions, and truly, because of that perspective, I can identify that golden thread. And
Right.
it really just bubbles up to the surface.
That's helpful. So it sounds like part of the answer to that would be probably choose a couple different focuses or niches, as we like to call them, or niche.
Yeah, yeah,
And then that allows you to clarify the messaging and,
yeah.
classic Donald Miller example, right? With the website that sells pet food and they've got two buttons, one for cats, one for dogs. I don't know. Is
Yes.
that a good example,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great example. Yeah. I mean, if you're really, I would say 99% of the clients that I talk with are like, but I have two very different types of clientele.
Mm-hmm.
And I say there's always there's always like an overlap on the Venn diagram. There's always a way we can essentially craft the story so it speaks to both people. There are ways to set up the page that truly does connect with both people. But in a situation where you're, where you really want to separate that out, then yeah, create a page for this audience and a page for that audience. And
Sure.
then, customize the message to each of them.
And then also possibly there's a way to take a business that serves multiple different populations and have sort of an overarching story or theme. Everyone deserves good
Yeah,
mental health or something along those lines.
for
And that's,
sure.
and then
For
you can
sure.
talk about why that's important. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So you can really, as there's so many ways to skin the cat, but
sure.
you can create like a homepage that is an overarching message about what you stand for, who you work with. And then you can identify and give them the option to choose which one they are, and then go to that page and learn what you can provide for them there.
That
But
makes sense. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, you know, doing the work and doing the heavy lifting to get clear, to really have one message and one
Mm-hmm.
page. Most people will not navigate to a secondary page. And so I really like to kind of include multiple pages just on the homepage, meaning integrating the about page on the homepage, integrating the services page on the
Mm-hmm.
homepage, and not when people land on your website, you don't want to send them on a scavenger hunt to try and gather the information they need to take that next step. So,
Definitely.
yeah, a lot of times we want to be helpful and we want to, show our potential clients all the things that we know, but your website in particular is like a first 5-minute coffee date. It's just there to create enough interest, intrigue, trust for them to want to, hop on a call or take whatever that next step is that you want them to take, fill out your form. It's just to get them to excited about moving forward if they're the right type of client for you.
Yeah, you only have nanoseconds, if that seconds, to like grab the attention of somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think are some of the best ways to do that on a website, on a homepage, without scrolling? I
Mm-hmm.
have some ideas in my head. I'm sure they're probably the similar ideas, but
Yeah.
how can a therapist, once they craft a compelling story, how can they best present that on their homepage so that when somebody lands on it, they go, "Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
interesting,"
Yeah.
or "This
Yeah.
is I want to know more."
Well, there's nothing wrong with having them scroll on your homepage.
Sure.
It's much clunkier to move from to multiple pages, but if they land on your page, that upper section, which I call the hero or the header section, right? It's the first thing that they see on your website. It's usually a big image and a big headline and a subhead and a button. And this is really the most important work that you can do, because when they land on your website, they're wondering, am I in the right place? And you have to give them the information that they need to identify that. And then that way, people that aren't looking for what you're doing leave, which is a good thing. And the people that are looking for what you're doing stay. And if you've done the heavy lifting of getting clear and you're able to, within about 5 seconds, communicate what you do, how it's going to make my life better, and what do you want me to do next? You need to do those 3 things in about 5 seconds. If you do that well, then they're going to continue to scroll.
Right.
And so that's really the top priority. If you get that wrong, they're going to bounce to another website and you've just lost a potential client.
It's amazing to me how much effort and work it takes to actually put together that image in those maybe 20 or 30 words, but how
Yes.
powerful they are at the same time, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's very, very hard to do for yourself. It really is. But if you have help and you have somebody who understands story and is good with keeping things clear and simple, it doesn't have to take very long.
absolutely.
Yeah.
As we're talking, I'm thinking about productive therapists and thinking, I need your help crafting a better story, because over the last 7 years of having Productive Therapist as a business, we do have a core service and we do have a core sort of transformation that we provide. But me, with my creative entrepreneurial brain, I've created a directory and written a book and I have a podcast. And I feel like I've got to the point where I've got too many things to where when I meet people sometimes, unless they already have been on my list and know me and know us, they're like, so tell me, what does Productive Therapist do? And really what I want is for everyone out there to be learning about Productive Therapist and telling some similar story, right? Oh, Productive Therapist, yeah, XYZ, right?
They're known for. When
Yeah.
they ask you that question, how do you answer it? Like when they go, "What does Productive Therapists do?" How do you answer that?
I just had that. I was at a conference. I was speaking in Austin, Texas, to a small group of therapists, and a number of them knew of us and had engaged with us before and purchased our products and services. But I was sitting at a table eating breakfast with a group of therapists, and one of them, who had clearly heard of me and us, said, "So tell me about Productive Therapist. What do you do?" And so I told them about our core service, which is providing virtual intake coordinators for mental health practices. That's the main thing that we do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time and energy talking about AI and like,
Mm-hmm.
operations and all kinds of other
Mm-hmm.
different things. So yeah, it's not as focused as it could be, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, every good story begins with a problem. So when you answer that question, you know, I mean, you're clear on what you provide, but what's the problem that you're solving? Like many therapists waste
Hmm.
hours of their precious time managing the intake process or whatever is the problem. Tell me, what is the problem?
Yeah, when therapists become successful, they find themselves overwhelmed and overworked. They become too busy because they're wearing all the hats, they're doing all the things, and then they wonder why they got into it in the first place. But the
Hmm.
the real problem is they just need some help. They need some help
Hmm.
answering the phone, answering the emails, talking to new clients, matching them with the right therapist.
Hmm.
And it turns out when they get a good intake coordinator to take over that role, their life dramatically improves.
Oh
And they're
my
like
gosh.
reconnected with their mission. They feel like they can make a bigger impact and do what they're really meant to do. Something like that.
Woo!
That's good, right?
That was so good. It was so good. It gave me context around what you do and the struggle that these therapists are dealing with, right? They've finally reached like success. They should be happy. They're probably making good money, but their quality of life is like they're spread too thin. They're exhausted. They're on their way to burnout. And
Right.
then how are you going to make an impact when you're burnt out? So it's powerful, really powerful the way you
Yeah.
position that. Yeah.
Thanks. I need to
Yeah.
work on that accordion piece that you were talking about. I like that analogy of like same story, but sometimes it's long, sometimes it's short, but it's all
Yes.
the same focus
It
in a
is.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, the core foundations of every story are it begins with a hero or a character that has a problem they don't know how to solve. So
Hmm.
your clients are the hero of your story. You are the guide who gives them a plan that calls them to action, and it results in success and helping them avoid failure. But you communicated all of those components in what you just shared with me. That was, you know, we could even go shorter,
Hmm.
for sure. And then
Definitely.
we could go longer. We would go deeper into all of those components on your website, for example. Yeah,
I've done a lot of this work, Chris. I just need help like refining it.
totally. I'm here for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I want to read you a quote from a book I'm reading recently, and you might have already heard this, but I'm curious. Well, of course, you'll agree with this quote. The book is called Same as Ever by Morgan Housel, and the
Mhm.
subtitle is A Guide to What Never Changes. Have you heard of that book?
No, no,
It's
but
actually
I've
fantastic. Yeah.
really, okay. I'm gonna write
So
that
here's a quote that I pulled out.
down. Okay.
He said, "The best story wins, not the best idea or the right idea or the most rational idea. Just whoever tells a story that catches people's attention and gets them to nod their heads is the one who tends to be rewarded." Isn't that good?
Wow. Yeah, that's really, really good. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's a relief in many ways. Like you don't have to have the best idea. You don't have to have 18 certifications. you have to have a story that
Mm-hmm.
people truly connect with, that's compelling, that's consistent, that's transformational. And once you have that, like everything else kind of falls down like dominoes, because just life gets a lot easier
It
and you
clicks into
win.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It also
totally.
occurs to me that this might be one of the better ways to AI proof a business, right? Because like AI can do so many amazing things and it will continue to get better and better,
Mhm.
but there's nothing that can quite replace an interesting human story about somebody who did something, overcame something, like you said, that hero's journey, right?
Yes.
Like, how do
Yeah,
you, AI will never tell you a story that you're like, oh, I feel that, it's not
totally.
going to happen, I hope.
It's not going to happen. I mean, the beauty of AI is that once you've got your signature story, once you've gone through the process of crafting your
Mm-hmm.
one powerful story that you use everywhere in your business, then you can feed those components into
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT, but garbage in, garbage out. So you want to feed it gold essentially, and then it can actually help make your life easier for other things that you want to create. Um,
I like
but
that.
yeah, yeah,
That's really good. Okay, so I'm a person that's very actionable and like, practical. I think
yeah.
that's why people like to listen to this podcast, hopefully.
Uh-huh.
So all these ideas, I guarantee you that every therapist listening to this right now is nodding their head, saying, yes, this. Um, so what would be some first action steps for someone to take who's listening, who's thinking, I want to take the story that I have and make it better. I want to build this golden thread with the accordion. All of it sounds amazing. Where do they start?
Well, I mean, you can read my book.
I was thinking that, yeah, the book.
Yeah, I have a book called From Click to Client. And the book is probably the most affordable way to really start implementing this work. Everything, like my book and my freebies, there's a lot of free resources there that people can tap into. It can all be found at reddoorstories.com. And I would really encourage people to go through my 5 minutes to compelling copy process. It's a 5-minute video with a companion worksheet, and it's going to pull that story out of you. Once you go through that, it won't take you very long, but that's going to change the lens at which you look at your business, and what the lens in which you talk about your business, write about your business. It's going to change that lens for you, which I think is the most powerful thing that you can do right now. And then I would always encourage people to, if you're in early days in your practice and you're wanting to DIY, great. There's a lot of free options out there. I've got a bunch of resources on my website. If you want to work with me, you can always book a call with me on my website too, and we'll talk about your story. My calls, I don't charge anything for the call. So we can look at your website, talk about your story, and map out a plan. So those are good. Those are really good first steps for people.
Yeah, you have some excellent resources and your emails are really, really good.
Ah, thanks.
Yeah, and I always know that when I get an email from you, what it's going to be about, which, there it
Right.
is.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
practice
exactly.
what you preach. Yeah.
Banging the same drum over and over again. It works.
I think it's an important one. Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing for all the businesses that you've helped in the past and present and future. I think this is what makes us human, and this is what helps us to stand out. It's not hopefully dancing on TikTok or like broadcasting constantly on social media, but if you have a compelling story, people do want to repeat that, don't they? I mean, I
They
think
do.
that's just kind of the
Yeah.
nature of how it works. Have you heard
Yeah.
about this? Have you heard about so and so? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, their stories are like 22 times more memorable than just facts. So
Yeah.
again, it's like how to be remembered. And also, people need to hear things about 8 or 9 times in order to even be able to commit them to memory. So the more you repeat, like when you start getting
Mm-hmm.
sick of your own story, that's when it's going to really start to gain traction.
That's the problem I need to have.
Yeah.
Why am I saying the same thing over and over again? Oh, maybe people are actually getting it.
Yes, totally.
That's
Yep.
good. I've always seen myself or thought of myself as someone who's not good at telling stories, and I admire people who can do that, like, live in person at a party or around
Oh,
a
yeah.
campfire or those kinds of
Yep.
things.
Yeah.
So I literally have on my board in my office, it says, tell more stories, but I
Hmm.
haven't quite figured out how to practice that. I mean, I'm doing it in my
Mm-hmm.
writing,
Mm-hmm.
but like how to practice that in my day-to-day life, how to think
Mm-hmm.
about talking and writing in that
Mm-hmm.
sort of format, I don't know if you have any
Yeah.
thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, ugh, so many there, but I do have a book recommendation around that. If you're
Yes,
wanting
please.
to really practice that, there's a book called Stories. I think it's called Stories Sell by Matthew Dickman. Let me double check on that.
Stories
Yeah, Matthew
that
Dix.
sell.
Stories Sell
Okay.
by Matthew Dix, and he is like a 10-time Moth storytelling Grand Slam champion, whatever it is. Like
Wow.
he's a great storyteller. He managed McDonald's for many years in his younger years, then became a teacher and used story to like like unconsciously use story. And it got him to these incredible places. So it sounds like a book about selling, but it's really a
Mm-hmm.
book about storytelling and also being able to do it verbally.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll put that in the show notes, and I'm going to go get that book today. Thank you.
So good. I listened to it on audio and I really feel like I got to know him better
Oh,
because of
good. I
that. So
love
I don't know if you
audiobooks.
love audiobooks, but
I
yeah,
do. I'm all
me
about the
too.
audiobooks. I like try to think of myself as somebody who sits down and reads books. I still buy books and I put them on my
Yeah,
shelf, and then I go get the audio and I listen to the audio, which is kind of funny,
totally.
but I like books.
You're not alone. You're not alone. I do know when I sit down to read a book, which is not often, the feeling of having the pages and to be able to kind of underline things, like it truly is like such a
Hmm.
different experience. Um, but I think as, business owners and professionals, sometimes we just want to like have it in our ears while we do the dishes or on a walk or whatever, and that's delightful. Like I think I'm an auditory learner, and so I think it sinks in deeper when I'm doing Audible.
Definitely. I agree.
Hmm.
However, I will say this one thing before we wrap up. When I really want to like soak in the content of a book, usually it's nonfiction, of course, right? But there are times when I will be diligent enough to sit down with the book and a highlighter, listen to the audio, and then highlight as I go through. Yeah, it's a
Ooh,
pretty
I
good strategy,
like
actually,
that.
because then you're
Yeah.
like taking it in multiple different ways, and then you have a touch
Yeah.
point for getting back to the things that were
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, I
Oh,
should do that
that's
more.
good.
I should do
Yeah.
that more.
That like if you really want to get really good at something fast, that's the fast track.
Study it.
And
Yeah.
then a little sticky note to mark like certain pages. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
Yeah.
Kris, thank you so much for your time today. And for people who are listening, absolutely go directly now to reddoorstories.com and sign up for all the things and buy the book. Really, truly, you won't regret it. Definitely
Hmm.
worth it. Yeah,
Thank you for having me. It's been such a delight to talk to you.
absolutely. Have a good one.
That's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and hit the subscribe button to make sure you never miss an episode. If you're looking for more personalized help, you can reach us through productivetherapist.com. Thanks so much for listening. We are Productive Therapist, and this is the podcast that helps therapists get more done and have more fun.